Welcome back. This video is going to be about the math square root method. And the math square root method, let me write that out, math square root method. In a previous video, we went over the math power method. This is the square root method. If you don't know what a square root is, or you just need to, you forgot, it's basically going to be, for example, if you have 4 and we square root it, it's going to be 2. Now, we're not worrying about the fact that it could be positive or negative. We're worrying about the principal root. So it's the principal root, which is only worrying about the positive. So we're not going to do positive or negative. The computer is not going to output positive or negative. It's just a square root of 4. It's a principal root. That's what we're looking at here. So don't worry about that. Okay, let's go over an example real quick. So if I have double, and then I can do, let's see, number equals math dot, the key word here, the what you need to do, the method's name is sqrt. We when we say this, when we're programming, we just say math dot squirt. We don't say math dot square root, because it's just squirt. That's a short form. So math dot squirt, and then you have to input the number that you want to square root into that as an argument, essentially. So if I wanted to square root 4, which is what I did before, that's gonna be the square root of 4. Now, in previous videos, when I typed out the output, when I wrote out the output, I think I did just 2 for an example before. When I did the power method, it's supposed to be 0.0, which we see when we go to the IDE. So that's just kind of an error, but when we go to the IDE, we automatically see it. And that's why I like going to the IDE, because sometimes we forget these things, but just kind of a fix, if you will. Yeah, so that's just something I wanted to point out. But here I'll make sure to make it right. So if we print it out, we would output not just 2, but 2.0. And that's your answer. Let's move over to the IDE.
All right, so now we're going to demonstrate the square root method. So first of all, as we always do, we have to make sure we do import java.lang.math, which gives us, as I keep mentioning this, it gives us access to math class methods. So now in our main method, let's create a variable double, and we're going to say number, for example, equals math.sqrt. That's how we use that method. So now in this case, we're going to say math.square root 16. And so the argument we pass in is basically the number you're trying to take the square root of. So math.square root 16. And now let's print out the result. So let's do system.out.println the number. So when you do number, and now let's run our program. So as Pranav mentioned earlier, it's when it prints out the result, it's going to have the 0.0. And that's basically, since we stored our number in a double, which is our primitive type we use. And by double, as for review, double means decimals. And it's going to be 0.0. If we simply have 4, it's going to be 4.0 in that case. All right, but now we're going to change the 16 to -16. And now let's see the result. So let's print out the result. Now, when you take the square root of -16, that's actually, unless you look at imaginary roots, it's going to print out NaN. What this basically means is not a number. So when you do square root of a negative number in Java, it's going to output not a number, but it's not. So it's basically not considering imaginary roots. And so that's basically an important thing to keep note of, is when we usually use square root, we usually use positive numbers in this case. And to keep note, is going to print out a double. So that's basically what the square root method does for us. Thanks.